Hey bookworms!
I'm Book Mouse,
And I'm Book Kitty.
and this is
Our BookNook. Today we have written our first original book tag. I know there's a coronavirus book tag out there already. I have written what I'm calling the quarantine book tag. So it is a little bit different than the other ones. So please stay tuned and check it out and let me know what you think of our first original book tag. Okay, so our first question today is your must-have. What is a book that you have to have with you while quarantined? For me, I picked a book that isn't, some people may not count it for this, but I'm going to count it because it's on my bookshelf and it is technically a book. But I went with my Doctor Who coloring book. Honestly, out of all the books that I have, if I had to not get any more books or only have one, that would be the one I would choose because I love Doctor Who and coloring is great. So, what about you? What about you,
well, since
Mouse?
we talked about it, I had to agree with the coloring book. I have an amazing same theme as your Doctor Who, but mine is a alien from the movie series Aliens. It's a coloring book of all the different aliens, the eggs, the chest bursters, the characters from the Nostradamus, and I love it. It's nothing makes me happier than my aliens. Next up is Isolation, a book where the main character spends most of the book alone. I had to think about this one. I don't know if you consider it alone because he felt totally alone, but I loved the book Anthem. It's a book by Ayn Rand, and it's way down the line after Holocaust and the apocalypse and all of this. And the people are very simple. They're in groups. They've decided that individuality is what caused the war. So they have none. They're given names like Unity 472, and they're in groups of 100. This guy actually feels so isolated and so alone because he's curious, which is technically illegal. And I think that's what I would pick for isolation because he felt so horribly alone and isolated
I'd say
until
that
he
definitely
managed
counts, yeah.
until he escaped. What about you? What would you pick for a lone main character?
I went with a super easy, really obvious one, but I went with I Am Legend, which we did do a review of a little while ago, and he spends the majority of that book 100% alone. I mean, he's the last like human, so like that's pretty much as alone as it gets.
Pretty
But
much.
yeah. So I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. The next book tag question on our list is Binge Read, a long book series you'd recommend for someone who has a lot more time on their hands. I actually put two here because they're very different from each other. They're both long, and I would recommend both with about the same amount of vigor. But I went with the Shannara series by Terry Brooks because seriously, you need a lot of time on your hands to make your way through that. It is immense and detailed and all over the place in terms of time span, and it's just wonderful. But that's more of like a high fantasy type series if you're into that. And the other one I went with was House of Night by PC Cast and Kristen Cast. It is basically what would happen if vampires always existed in our world, and people always knew that they were there. They have their own society. They live congruently. I wouldn't say peacefully yet, but I would say congruently. And it is quite long of a series. I actually brought the whole series off my bookshelf to show y'all, but I can't do video today, so I can't show you. But it does have a lot of books. It's definitely a young adult series. It's definitely a magical realism kind of set in our own real world type thing. It has some pagan undertones. very goddess worshipy, and it kind of mixes witchcraft with vampirism, which is kind of an interesting take. So I would recommend that one because it's a lot of books to binge through. Plus, they're about to make a TV series of it, so it's great to binge it now while you have the time so that you're ready when the TV show starts. So, what is a binge read for you?
Okay, so you definitely need time to read this one because I think each book's like, what, 3 inches thick? Robert Jordan, Eye of the World. Each book, I swear, is 2-3 inches thick if you get the paperback.
Jeez.
And a lot of, again, high fantasy, a lot of detail. I mean, dude can write. So there was just I thought that if you're going to be stuck and you need, and the series keeps going. Well, he's passed away, but the series, there's so many books in the series. So yeah, if it takes you a year to read 3 inches, you need to read this series. Who knows when our quarantine or shelter in home will end. All right, so the next one we have on our book tag is Toilet Paper. All the TP is gone. What book are you using instead? I'll tell you right now. Anything written by Louis L'Amour. I don't do Westerns. Well, I don't do his Westerns. And it's just a whole childhood trauma thing of relative that would read nothing but Louis L'Amour, had like all 40, 50, 60 books of his in his house, and every time we went over to visit, it was, have you read the latest? I'm like, no, not gonna either. So yeah, I personally just have a hate on for Louis L'Amour books, so he'd be my first substitute toilet paper in a heartbeat.
I picked something that I had on my shelf just because I felt like if I'm reaching for TP, it should be something I have. So considering I really only own things that I like, it was a hard decision for me, but I would probably say I'd most likely reach for something by Nicholas Sparks, just simply because I have a lot of them and all of them are kind of similar a little bit. There's a lot of running themes in the books that they all kind of feel the same, and I don't think I would honestly miss one. So, and it's not off my vampire shelf, so it's fair game. Our fifth one on the list is Antiviral, a book that went viral that you have avoided or not read yet. For me, I chose the Throne of Glass series. It sounds so intriguing, and a lot of booktubers are talking about Throne of Glass. And don't get me wrong, I'm very interested, but I have not yet taken that dive. And sometimes I actually find myself behind the curve a little bit when it comes to book series. I like to wait until the series is out in its completion because I can't stand waiting for the next book. I really can't, especially with people like George R.R. Martin, who, we're still waiting on that last book, and it's just, I don't think we're ever going to get it, and I don't want to feel that way again. If I like a series, if I love a series, I want to, or have a chance of loving a series, I want to take the chance and wait and then read them all together. That way I don't have to like reread the last book every single time a new one comes out because it's been so long I've forgotten where we were. So I have not yet done Throne of Glass. It is on my TBR at some point. But yeah, that's my antiviral stand-in. What about you, Mouse?
All right. And I'm going to keep resisting and avoiding this one because we've already talked about this in other videos. Twilight series. I have not read a single word of any of the Twilight series. I know BookKitty has threatened to make me read her copy.
We had a fan request it 3 times that we do that one.
And it was kind of a special fan. So maybe that will be the only thing that convinces me to read it. But yeah, that's the viral one that I seriously held out on.
I think we only have one more left.
We do. And the last one is Super Binge, a book and TV series combo you would recommend. Okay, I actually have struggled with this one. I have racked my brain for a book and TV combo, and I'm going to be honest, I only came up with one. And y'all just need to know that yes, I am a card carrying member of Starfleet International. Star Trek. There are, I don't know how many books
So many.
written. Just, I have to do this one real quick. Rest in peace and many, many thoughts and great wishes for DC Fontana and her family. She is one of the foremost Star Trek novel writers, and she did pass away. But you've got tons of books, and not just the original Star Trek series, which are numbered, so you know where you are in the series. But then you've got Star Trek the original series, you've got Star Trek the Next Generation, Star Trek Voyager, Star Trek DS9, and then you got Enterprise. So that's 5 TV series.
Oh, and now you've got Picard
hundreds
too.
of books.
Now you got Discovery
you've
and
got
Picard.
Picard.
And Discovery, yeah.
Oh, I forgot about Discovery. Okay,
Yep.
so I'm way off there.
You're way
So
behind,
you've got
aren't
like
you?
what? Seven Star Trek series, not counting all the movies.
Oh yeah,
and the
that'll
reboots.
keep you busy during quarantine for sure.
Oh yeah, that's my pick. So what'd you pick?
Oh, come on. What do you think I picked?
I know what you picked, but you have to tell the audience.
Doctor Who. I originally, actually, she is right. She did know what my answer was, but I did change it because I forgot for some reason. I don't know why, but I momentarily spaced on the fact that Doctor Who actually does have a whole shit ton of books. And it is my absolute number one favorite TV show. I am obsessed with Doctor Who. I have a life-size TARDIS, just to give you an example of how deep my obsession runs and how much it is bigger on the inside.
The inside's bigger than the outside?
It's bigger on the inside.
Is it?
Bigger on the inside. Actually bigger.
Smaller on the outside.
Because really inside of me, that obsession goes so much bigger than I let show to everybody else. Anyway, I would highly recommend taking a look at the series, both the book and the books and the TV show. Now, anybody knows anything about Doctor Who, or knows anybody who knows anything about Doctor Who, knows that there's a lot of it, and a lot of people are like, oh my god, where do I start? My recommendation, start with 2005, work your way up to current. If you still like it, if you like it enough, go back and then watch the classic Who, because the early classic Who is like really bad acting. It's bad. I mean, it's from the 60s. It's bad acting. It's bad TV, like quality, and all of that. It's hard to get through, but the later stuff in classic Who I've heard is really, really great, and I have yet to check out. I know, I'm a bad fan. But then if you make it through the classic series and you really like it, then you can check out like the spin-offs and stuff, because there are several spin-offs. There's K9, there's the Sarah Jane Adventures, there's Class, there's Torchwood, which I highly recommend. And of course, there are all the books. Most of the books are older, but there are also audiobooks and graphic novels as well. And yeah, some of the older Doctors, like if you find that you watch the series and you really like the 10th Doctor, David Tennant, he's in a bunch of audiobook stories and stuff, so his story actually does continue. So being that is my number one thing, and being that it is both books and TV, that is my number one recommendation, because it will definitely keep you busy over quarantine. And who knows, quarantine will maybe even pass faster for you, because it's just so easy to get lost in the world of the Time Lords. So that's it. That's what we have for today on our quarantine book tag. We're going to tag below some booktubers that we like to follow, and hope that y'all get a chance to check it out and do the book tag. If you are watching this and we did not tag you before, you are absolutely tagged. If you want to do it, by all means, go ahead and tag us so we can check out your video too.
As always, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring that bell so you always know when we post new content.
We post new content every Monday at 2 p.m. Central, and sometimes randomly when we have just a few other things to share with you. Go ahead and check the description below, where we list where you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads, and Patreon. And as always, you can become a patron for as little as $3.
Join us for all sorts of fun shit, like behind the scenes footage,
bloopers and shoutouts, and much more.
This has been Book Mouse and Book Kitty.
And we are now signing off. Happy quarantine.